All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off Axis podcast. Today I'm here with Dave Matz. Dave is the owner of Volta Creative. It is I would say a technology entertainment company because what you guys do is pretty crazy cool, like all the lights and stuff. So how did you originally get started into all the LED stuff?
I kind of grew up as a nerd, and I've just been running businesses since I was 10 years old when I built my first computer and kind of saw a need and hopped around. I got the idea when I was in Japan traveling with Lenoir, and they first had those Pixel Poi. And the second I saw them, I was like, I need to apply that to my wheel.
Ooh.
Didn't really have the money or time to develop anything with that for a few years. And then finally, I think it was on my 30th birthday, I just kind of sat down, reevaluated everything in my life, and just kind of was like, okay, it's time to make the Pixel wheel. Nobody else is doing it right now. Dedicated a decent chunk of change into R&D, and then yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you did start doing computers and stuff when you were a young age, because I saw all the stuff you're doing. I'm like, damn, I gotta step up my game, but I don't know anything about this stuff. So I was like, maybe I'll just skip that.
I mean, a lot of it though, today you can learn anything on the internet. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of what I picked up was look up this tutorial on Makezine, where they're you want to make a persistence of vision fan, and then take that code and apply it to something else, even if you don't even know how to code. There are tutorials of how to blend stuff, or it's just,
yeah,
everything is at our fingertips right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Come a little closer to the mic if you can.
Yep.
It'll pick up your voice a little bit better. Yeah. Did you ever do MySpace and stuff when it came out?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like that was the beginner to coding.
Oh, yeah.
And they just stopped it, so no one figured out how to code it anymore.
Yeah, back then you had to code your coloring in, add different HTML, or I don't even know, they might have been using more JavaScript back then, or
yeah. I feel like I was on track to be a coder back in the day. And then Facebook came out, just made it super simple, and it's never mind.
Yeah. God, what's the guy's name? There's actually somebody who hacked the MySpace code and got thrown in jail. Wasn't allowed to touch a computer for I think 7 years.
Oh Jesus.
Sammy Kamkar, he has an amazing website on just hacking different things, from computer toys to be able to hack into somebody's computer, or a little toy to be able to hack into somebody's car.
Oh man.
If they beep within a certain distance, and yeah, super interesting, because you know how you had that little hero thing.
Yeah.
On MySpace, he hacked it so that Sammy Kamkar was everybody's hero.
Oh my God.
If you loaded a web page with him as a hero and they had to shut MySpace down, it's this whole crazy debacle.
Oh man. Yeah, I never got into all that coding and that kind of stuff. A year ago, I was like, all right, I'm going to start learning how to code. And then I started looking at the books. I'm like, it's like starting to learn Chinese or something. It's not going to happen for me.
I mean, unless you have a dedicated reason you need it for, it's not worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's easy enough to hire someone on Upwork or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you go from performer to production? What made you really kind of go into that world?
It's just one of those things, being business oriented. I was always promoting myself, and then people would ask for referrals or whatever. And eventually, I just started being okay, well, I can do the referral, take 10% off the top, get my friends work while kind of building more of a relationship and adding value to all my clients.
Yeah.
It kind of happened naturally. And then, much like you, with Trampoline Wall, having a bigger, better acrobatic apparatus to sell, just kind of opened me up towards bigger and better productions.
Yeah. So do you do tramp wall yourself?
I do a little bit for fun, but if I can help it, I don't perform it.
Yeah.
I leave it to the pros.
What did you originally start with? Was it Searwell?
No. Originally, we had a acrobatics class in college. It was Chinese acrobatics, and I did Chinese pole, hoop diving, unicycling, juggling, aerial, a little bit of everything.
Were you a gymnast in high school?
No, I did my first flip at 20 or 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got into this game pretty late.
Yeah, so hoop diving would be really hard to pick up.
Yeah, but I mean, I was training for probably 3-4 hours a day. I would go to both of his classes every day, Yinping Zheng of Fujin China's National Acrobatics Troupe, And yeah, for 2 years while I was finishing up college, I just kind of fell in love with it, and it was a good foundation.
Yeah. I almost feel like it's better for people to come into it later because you don't get burned out on it as a kid. Like usually the people who do gymnastics starting at like age 4, by the time they're like out of high school, they're like, I do not want to do anything like this. It was like the same for me doing baseball. Like by the time I got in high school, I was like, I just want to go to the skate park or something. Like it was like new, fresh, and like here I am still doing it.
Totally. And I think we have more of a focus and appreciation for it as adults, kind of getting into it.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is good to have that foundation.
Yeah. If you could, like, what would be the one act that you might want to like go into? Like if you could perform anything, danger aside, if everything like was safe, which one do you think you would actually lean towards?
Oh man, if I physically could perform anything, like if I was a better acrobat, I'd want to perform acronet, because
dude,
that is the coolest act.
Acronet is insane.
I'm just not that good of an acrobat to be able to have air awareness that high up.
Yeah, acronet is like, I feel like you kind of need that like long background of like gymnastics or something because of the crazy awareness, and like those guys are doing flips from like, what is it, like 25 feet up in the air? I'm gonna pull up a quick video on it real quick.
Yeah, I mean, like Dave Locke was, some of the catches that he was doing, I think were like 30, 35 feet up into the air, like with the catcher.
Yeah, these guys are
nuts.
They're double bouncing each other like way up in the air. There's like 6 people on a net. It looks like the funnest thing in the world, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like super tramp wall.
At some point, I definitely want to set one up.
Oh, yeah. They're like 30 feet up there. And it's crazy because they go from like a few foot bounce and then they all like bounce them and they're skyrocketing.
And the fact that they can kill it just like that too, like,
yeah,
is pretty insane.
Yeah, that's a crazy act. And like, I've never been too good at like the double bouncing and that kind of stuff. We usually do that in our shows, but we're not on that level at all. I wonder how like bouncy that thing is compared to a normal trampoline. Like, could you just bounce by yourself? Probably not.
I have a feeling you could bounce but not get that much off because it's so slow and you just have to, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But it's also kind of like soft on your body. Like, I feel like you're not going to get super hurt unless, of course, you flew off.
Yeah.
Because it is like a big, nice net, which I feel like it's kind of similar to something that you would jump out of a burning building onto. You know, jumping into a net. But they only have that one act in Curios, right?
Yeah, that's the only one I know about. But then I think there's some crew out of like Bulgaria or something that does a lot of like tramp wall. You'll see their videos go viral. Yeah. They do tramp wall on like being pulled by a tractor or whatever, and they set one up on a crane, which was super sick.
Are you talking about the DD Squad guys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually sent them shoes for that video.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they were wearing our shoes in that video. Yeah, those guys are crazy. The way that, like, I talked to one of the owners when he came out to Vegas, and, like, the way that whole thing got started, it was like they were just trying to promote, like, their social media and with some, like, construction company, and they did one thing. I think it was with the train or something, and the next thing you know, they have, like, access to all this crazy equipment, and they're in Slovenia where there's, like, essentially way less laws and way less people who want to sue you so that you can get away with this kind of crazy stuff.
That's so sick. Hopefully at some point in the future we can collaborate on something like that out here.
Yeah, for sure. They were actually supposed to come out to the tramp wall games a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But it was like right after the coronavirus kicked in. So they got, as soon as they flew into America, they found out that they might have to either stay here or they could fly back right away. So they ended up just going home.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, quite a bummer. What would you say is like, maybe other than Acronet, is like the most impressive act that you've seen?
That's a good question. I mean, high level hand to hand where you're doing like crazy partner acrobatics and whatnot.
Yeah.
That was something that for a while I went down that road. And I just didn't have the time to dedicate to it. But if I could go back and relearn anything and really dedicate and like focus in, that would be one of them.
Yeah. For me, it's Bong Keen. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
But like it never made sense to me how people just launch each other off their hands. It's like extreme cheerleading. They do like a couple flips and then somehow they land back on people's hands or on their shoulders like 3 high, and that stuff's insane to me.
Yeah, all the Russian troops they have, like the one in Curious.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I just wish Cirque would stop making them do choreography.
Oh my God. Yeah, it almost kind of ruins the act.
I mean, it's hard to ruin an act that good, but yeah, it gets a little close.
It's a little silly. Yeah, it's almost like people, I think one time someone tried to make us do choreo on the ramps, and he was just like, no, we're just not going to do that. It doesn't look good.
Well, you got to play to your strengths. I mean, if people do choreo, like in addition to these skills, yeah, put it in, but don't force people that can barely walk on stage without, not saying that about you, but like a lot of like Russian acrobats, it's like they are there to do flips and they don't want to do anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think Cirque du Soleil is going to like come back strong, or do you think they're going to be out for a while?
I really hope they do, just because of the amount of artists that they're displacing right now. But I'm a little bit fearful on that they're not going to come back as strong. I mean, they're so far in debt. They have way too many shows going on. I'm hoping that Guy comes back, buys the company, and then kind of restructures it in a way that like really pushes it to the next level instead of trying to make it a factory for shows.
Yeah, it just boggles my mind that you can even get that far in a debt and still, like, who's giving them loans and like where are they getting this money to put on these shows from?
That's the thing, is like I feel like if either of us were given $500,000 $1 million, like they're $900 million in debt, we could create a kick-ass show that would blow a lot, like acrobatically, out of the water. It's insane that they have that much debt.
I feel like most of it goes to like their production, and then like we would probably build like our stage ourselves rather than just like when you're hiring like the union and stuff to do it, that runs up your bill. And like their stages could maybe use a little less decorations or something, you know, if you made it like 30% less crazy, probably be a lot more affordable. I don't know, like I just feel like if I was given like even like $50,000 or something to put on a show, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's do this.
Right?
Yeah, it would look really good. But I've heard from some of their acrobats that they're supposedly going to come back in August. It's now June, so that would be ideal. And I heard that they're actually coming back with all their shows that are in Vegas too, which is good, because I thought that they would cut all of like the Mystere and like their older shows and maybe just go with the ones that are actually selling good.
I think Mystere is actually one of the safest ones for them because everything's paid for. It has one of the lowest costs to run. The ones that I thought were in most jeopardy were Ka, that have huge casts and huge costs to run. The Beatles' Love is actually supposedly on the chopping block. Unfortunately, mostly because I think the rights that they have to pay out. And then even I heard something about Humanity being on the chopping block. Yeah, I
heard that too.
Which is surprising because, I mean...
that one's so much different, and I feel like that just, it consumes all of the adult crowd. Like, I don't know. If I was with a bunch of other adults and we were just getting hammered in Vegas, like, I'd probably pick that show to go to. I haven't seen it yet, but I've only heard, like, good things about it.
Definitely. And acrobatically, they have, like, the fewest cast. Like, I just don't understand why that would be on the chopping block. Especially considering that's their only answer to all three of Spiegelworld shows, which are hitting that same genre. It would seem like Ka would be the one to go because of how, like, I mean, you're essentially only looking at a stage with, like, everyone's doing kind of background stuff. Like, there's not, like, these spectacular, like, phenomenal acts. It's mostly, like, people, like, learning how to run on, like, a gigantic flipping block and stuff. But maybe it's because they're so far in debt to that stage that they're like, we have to keep it. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think they need like 40-50% ticket sales for Ka to like break even every night. Which
that's a lot.
Yeah. And if you have to do social distancing and take chairs out and whatnot, like that's a huge liability.
For sure. And I mean, personally, my favorite show is Mystere in Vegas.
Yeah, same here.
I like the raw acrobatics versus like crazy expensive stuff.
Well, I think that's one of Cirque's biggest problems is that whenever they add like any flair to it or technology, they're just kind of like slapping it on and they're like, okay, we can dial back the acrobatics and what made Cirque popular.
Yeah.
Versus like, okay, well, let's add this technology and add this flair and step it up a notch.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's more to like catering to the stage now than it was to like catering to the actual acts. Like, I feel like it should be, what's your cool act? And then like, let's make the background and stuff around that. But I don't know. Hopefully be able to do some shows on the Strip soon or something.
Definitely. I know Spiegelworld's supposed to be opening within a week of the casinos. So,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, in a limited capacity, but I think it's supposed to be the 11th.
Oh, really? Wait, remind me of what's Spiegelworld?
So Absinthe, Opium, and Atomic Saloon.
That's why it sounded familiar.
Yeah, I think it's only Absinthe that's going to be opening in the first wave, and they're going to kind of feel everything out, but it's a good sign for Las Vegas performers.
Oh, man, I got to see Absinthe after this. I feel like that's like one of the strongest shows on the Strip.
Oh, yeah.
And it's for sure like the lowest budget of everyone. And like, dude, they're going to have such good jokes after this whole bullshit going down. They're going to come back strong, I bet. I feel like it'll probably be better than ever. If they just had like a slightly bigger stage, it would really help out the show too, because they're kind of limited to like the 10-foot circle stage that they have.
Yeah, I auditioned on that stage one time on my sear wheel, and it'd be nice if it was a little bit bigger.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if they could just have like some kind of bigger acts or something, it'd probably help a lot.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it since they've gotten sway poles in. I know Hugo Noel came in and brought some in, but I would love to see that in that atmosphere.
Yeah, I did see it with the sway poles. I wasn't like super impressed by it, but I don't know. I haven't really seen anyone do some crazy stuff on like swing poles, you know? It's kind of like background stuff to me, at least.
Okay.
Have you seen like solo sway pole acts that like...
Not in that atmosphere. Like Bello Knock does a solo sway pole act. That's amazing, but it's more like the danger aspect, like kind of like a tightrope act where there's a build up and then he does a handstand on it while it's swaying. But those are 80-foot tall, like poles that are made of shipping masts or whatever they're made of, versus a 15-foot.
Yeah.
There was actually one guy at the LA County Fair years ago that did a sway pole act, and he engineered a break in his trussing to where like the pole flipped down mid-act, and like there were people fainting in the audience. It was nuts.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I don't know. Those things sketch me out. I've actually set them up one time. It was with Torque Method, actually.
Oh, nice.
That was the first time I met him. Elijah was like, hey, this guy needs someone help set up the sway poles. And I was like, all right. And the whole time I was like helping him film, I'm like, this thing is going to fall over.
Well, I personally did the brake tests on those, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, it was just tiny girls on them, but those things, somehow they work really well. But like, has a sway pole ever broken that you know of?
I know that, I'm not going to name any companies, but there's a Vegas company. We had a lot of problems when we brought ours to Vegas originally.
Yeah.
One of their sway poles broke, and the girl that was up there landed on an audience member and broke her arm.
Oh, it could have been a lot worse, though.
It could have been way worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just getting to the point where you're allowed to do sway poles on the Strip again.
Yeah.
With proper documentation and whatnot.
Yeah. You know, I never like think about hating a crowd member, but like, you know, when we get like insurance, it's typically to help us from getting sued by people in the crowd getting hit, you know? I always thought like, oh, I'm getting insurance. Like if I get hurt, I'm going to be all good.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that doesn't cover anything. That covers if you hit someone in the crowd. I'm like, that's never happened.
Yeah.
I guess it has a few times.
I pulled it in one time, though, because I was trying to get some drone footage during a show. And without the GPS on the drone, like the drone just kind of took off in a direction when it hit some the AC, went straight into like a $10,000 screen.
Oh my God.
And my insurance covered that. So,
dude,
pretty handy in that instance.
I was doing Holiday Dreams for Q Productions this year, and one of the clowns had this act. He was a magician. He was from Vegas. I can't remember his name. Oh, Bird, Mr. Bird, whatever his name is. Anyways, he would do this trick where he would have a card. He'd do a card trick, hand it to an audience member, and then he's like, "All right, now I'm gonna fly this drone," and he'd be like,
"Oh no!"
One thing they told me I couldn't do is fly it over the crowd. And one day, as he went to fly it over the crowd, it just died over the crowd and just happened to miss everyone in the crowd. Didn't hit anyone.
Oh, that's amazing.
He was like, yeah, actually probably really shouldn't fly it over the crowd because, dude, I've had so many drone problems. Those things are so unreliable right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm starting to develop, like, with my company is interactive drone stuff with
Ooh.
performers. I kind of want to push that to the next level. It's part of the reason for building the space and everything. And even just getting them to, like, communicate under one system with a grid is just nuts.
Yeah, I bet. I would not even ever think about going into that kind of business. I feel very confused. I couldn't even figure out lighting. What are some of your goals that you want to do with your circus company? Like, what's the ultimate goal?
I mean, the ultimate goal is to have, like, a tech-based circus show on the Strip competing with Cirque.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I built the space. Well, it's half the reason I built the space. I also want it to be a creation space for other people if they have, like, bigger ideas and they have the capabilities or money or whatever to build. But yeah, I want to be, over the next few years, creating each act individually for the corporate market with the bigger goal of having a full stage show in mind.
Yeah, that would be the ideal goal, is to have a show on the Strip. You could totally do it, especially I feel like if Cirque fails, there's going to be a lot of room for like other entertainment companies. And I feel like it could really even the playing field out because it's like hard to compete with Cirque at all.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it might be a big opportunity for smaller companies like us.
Yeah.
Because if they, depending on how they handle the regulations, if they have a maximum occupancy rather than a percentage, shows like Spiegel World, where it's 500, 1,000 people, are going to be in a better position than those shows that they have to sell 2,000 tickets every night.
Yeah.
So casinos might be looking at smaller scale shows with lower budgets where they're like, hey, we've got $100,000. What can you guys do?
Yeah, it would make sense too to have like more variety in your, rather than just one big show. And like personally, I see a lot of those shows and I'm actually quite disappointed by the end of it.
That was how I felt about MJ1. I
was super disappointed with that show.
I really loved moments in it. Like Thriller with the freaking tramp wall and everything was insane. And like that was one of the moments they really got right. But so many people told me how well Cirque did with the tech. And I'm like, they did like 10% of what they could have done with this. Yeah. It's just like they slapped LEDs on a bunch of stuff that they already had. Yeah. And
that show, it kind of like, I don't understand it because it's like, for one, if you were to choose an artist that you were going to base your show on, I would definitely go with an artist who is not controversial at all.
Oh, they definitely, yeah. I feel like they did all of that before the controversy started.
Did they?
Well, a lot of it solidified. Because I mean, the MJ1 Immortal tour was happening like a decade ago.
Oh, really?
It felt like forever ago. Anyway, I'd have to double check that.
Yeah.
And this show is worlds ahead of that.
Yeah.
That show is just awful. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like during the show, they're like trying to like make MJ look like he's like innocent, and it's like, I don't need all this. I just wanted to see like a Cirque du Soleil show. Mm-hmm. And there's like, I don't know, it's just too many effects. The Russian swing is in the background for some reason. Like they have the most dangerous act, and then it's in the background and you don't even realize it's there. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But I think the air track act was what really got me. I was like, that's so good.
It's so cool, but that was the one thing they got right on the original tour that they didn't get right on this one.
Oh, really?
Like one of the most impactful moments I've seen in a show in the last like 15 years of just consuming different Cirque du Soleil or different shows around the world. Everybody, like the 5 members walked onto the stage. 4 of them Bon-keened one guy into the air, looked up, and then they all walked away. But you didn't know the air track was inflated at that time. Like they kind of played the distraction game. Yeah. So the beat hit right as he slammed on the floor on his belly, bounced up, and then they started doing acrobatics, and it was just magic.
Oh, that's a great idea, actually.
Like, I wish they would have kept that in this show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, other than that, I didn't really like the show. It was too much dancing. It was like, it didn't have like the Beatles love show where you're like in this circle, you know. If you have bad seats, you're not going to enjoy the show really. And of course I had like the free seats that the performers give you. I was way in the back far corner. I was like super low budget seats. What do you think is like the coolest show that you've seen of all the shows? In the world.
In the world. Whew.
Even low budget shows.
I mean,
like per dollar. Like
God,
per dollar or per budget.
Limbo was probably my favorite show that I've ever seen.
Is that a Cirque show or?
No, I think it's a Spiegelworld show actually. And that's the one, me and Simon were on a corporate event in London. And it was just a whole, actually, I might have to change that. But it was so specific to the artist and it was amazing. Like you would see this guy like beatboxing and playing harmonica, and then he would do like a Chinese pole number, but he was amazing at all of those things. And then the sway pole act came on, which is where we started investing and like what really inspired us to. But they had an amazing hand balancer that was doing sway pole into the audience, and
that's cool.
The whole thing was so like cohesive. And played to everybody's strengths versus like, okay, we're going to hire a bunch of generalists that can do all this stuff. It just felt really special. And then another one would be, have you seen Sleep No More?
No, I haven't.
It's not my favorite show, but their other show, A Drowned Man, was incredible.
Really?
We also saw that in London, and it's like a interactive, you're wearing like the doctori, like old school, like white masks. So all the audience members, if something interesting is happening, you'll kind of like look over there and it's a bunch of like a flock of birds. It just pulls your attention like that. But the choreography, the atmosphere, like the dancing, the acrobatics, it's a 5-story recreation of like a 1930s film set. And you're just wandering through following different people's stories. So like
that's pretty cool. That's a good idea.
Somebody was like auditioning a girl and like tearing into her about how she has like no talent actress, whatever. Then he packs up like a briefcase. You follow him into a room and then he dresses in drag and then goes to like this whole cowboy set, and then they find out that he's actually a dude and they beat him up. But there's so many interesting threads. It repeats 3 times through the night. So you can follow different characters throughout, and then it all culminates into one like cohesive story. So that's probably the coolest show I've ever seen.
What would you say is like the coolest show you've ever performed in?
I guess that depends on like, 'cause a lot of that's a matter of perspective. Like I think if you were to ask me like what my best memories are from Cirque Berserk, bar none. Like we did a show at the Nokia Theater in downtown LA for it was like a 3-month run. And every night I felt like a rock star. Like the acts were incredible, the people were incredible. Like it's still one of the best tramp wall numbers I've ever seen. Because the choreography was on point. They did like really cool double bounces to the music where like Wes Hatfield did a double full like pull over the wall. And it's just like on point.
Nice.
But the coolest show that I've ever been a part of that like, I guess part of it would be the validation was Lenoir. And we performed in like 20 different countries, performing around the world. And it was just like a family. Everybody was at the top of their game. And we were in like Japan, Singapore, New Zealand, like for 2 months at a time.
That's pretty cool.
And we just got to travel around with a bunch of other amazing human beings. And
as far as like groups of people I performed with, like Flint Creek Circus, it was such a solid group of people and everyone got along. Like there was no like you know, there's always like that one person who just does not fit in. We didn't have any of those, and it was so good because we had to literally set up a tent and tear it down every week. So it was like there was no stragglers, and if there was one, it could have been really bad.
Yeah, definitely. Well, in those type of situations, anytime I've done a tent show, that trial by fire really like pulls people together. It's amazing.
Those shows are like a lot of work, especially like when you have to perform and then you have to like set up and tear down. You're like really putting like a number on your body. I I don't know if I would really want to do another one of those though, due to like how much work setting up a circus tent is, unless it stayed in the same spot for a month.
Yeah, even then though, I feel like that's one of those ones that like every performer should do to experience it.
Their first show should be that.
Yeah, and they should really do that to appreciate it, and then they never have to do it again. If they want to, cool, but
yeah, definitely.
I highly recommend that kind of stuff for anybody.
For sure. I've always said that. That's like boot camp for like performers. But if you like go from like for example, for me going from like all wheels to that, it was like, this is kind of too much work for like the amount of money that we're getting.
You think so? Because I mean, how many shows were you doing at all wheels versus how many shows were you doing at this?
Oh, so that's another thing. Yeah, for sure. The amount of work I was doing overall was probably about even.
Okay.
Yeah, because all wheels you do a lot, and especially I was doing like tramp wall and ramps and
those shows that you're doing like 6 shows a day, multiple different acts. Those are brutal. Another trial by fire, I think.
For sure.
Any like new performer should get into and do for the experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, all wheel shows are really fun though. It's just a short 20-minute show. Everyone's on stage the whole time. Essentially, you're just kind of like messing around with everyone. But they are like pretty cool, like epic shows. Mm-hmm. And I never got to really see one. But I know that our show was so solid at Cedar Point in 2016. We had like X Games gold medalists, and everyone was like the top of the best because Cedar Point was like the ultimate contract to go to because it was the longest, it paid the best, is at the best amusement park in America. So we had like such a solid group of people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. What, like, to switch it, what was like building your own space out here? Because for me to even like think about doing that, it seems a little crazy.
Like what about it? Sorry.
Like how long, like when did you decide I want to build a gigantic warehouse in my backyard?
I think I decided that when I turned 30, that like kind of.
Wait, how old are you right now?
36.
Okay.
Kind of all my goals were to work on the LED wheel and then hopefully make a bunch of money off that to be able to create my own space.
Okay.
We used to have this space in LA called Way Too Much Entertainment. Our buddy Philip Solomon ran it. And it was like this old Nestle chocolate factory turned derby place that we became the caretakers of, and we could create whatever we wanted. And that's where we created the wheels, the sway poles, our whole tramp wall team and everything. And when that disappeared, I was like, okay, how can I have something like this to help other artists, like to create bigger and better things?
Yeah.
As well as to create the next 5 years, 10 years of what I want to be building. And I kind of had to reverse engineer it as far as the funding, because renting a warehouse, I mean, you could be spending, even in Vegas, $5,000-$6,000 a month. I mean, that's $60,000 a year. Yep. That's just kind of like being thrown away.
Poof,
and you
gone.
have to make it up. So yeah, it was part of the reason I moved from LA to Vegas, was because I was able to afford a house out here that had enough land to build it. Fought the city for about 1.5 years to be able to get approval. And then fought for another year just getting the permits.
Yeah.
Even though I had approval to have the permits, and then we built it during quarantine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it cost about $120,000. So basically 2 years of rent.
Yeah.
And it's mine for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and like now that you own it and it's in your backyard and stuff, it can be David's Dream Factory instead of, if you would have rented it, it would have started as David's Dream Factory, and then it would have turned into like, shit, I need to make money.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be, okay, who wants to train? Who's got money? Anybody?
All right, we're doing little kid gymnastics now.
Exactly. And now it's like, okay, well, we want to like drift around on some razor carts with a flamethrower. Okay, let's do that.
So, dude, you got to have like a racetrack around the whole entire thing with those things.
That's the plan, is we want to do a whole Mario Kart thing over and around the house. Film it on point, have like a drone as like the little Goomba with the light or whatever it is. Yeah,
dude, it was literally my job to like ride crazy karts for like 2 years working for Razor.
I'm so jealous.
You would think that you would get like tired of like a job, but I never got tired of riding those things. I still love it. Like I don't get tired of riding those things around at all.
We spent all this time turning these bellhop carts that I kind of inherited into drift carts.
Yeah.
And then as soon as my magician neighbor that works on MJ1 down the street came over with the crazy cart, we're like, okay, forget about those. We need to get a bunch of these.
Yeah.
They're so much fun.
Dude, yeah, no. My friend Ollie was the creator of them. He went to like UCLA, and that was like his master thesis that he like his whole like project that he went for. And then by the time it came out, it was like lightning in a bottle. Like those things took off, and dude, no one, like, no matter what age you are, those things are fun.
Yeah.
And like anyone who sees them, like, what the hell? How is he doing that? Like,
and they've got beans too. Like,
oh yeah.
I'm planning on like throwing a bigger motor and overvolting it, but they've got some good juice to.
Oh yeah. Especially, yeah, once you start like getting those things really powerful. I've had a few like really souped up ones that like when I was riding them in shows on the ramps, like they just bolted it up the ramps, and those things are really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like everyone wants to like do like Fast and Furious drifting and stuff, but you kind of can't unless you like go to a racetrack, spend all this money on tires and stuff. And then that thing came out.
Even just learning, like I took a drift class out of Willow Springs like 6 months ago, and the learning curve for that is one of the steepest I've ever like jumped into. Yeah. And this is just like, okay, you pull the handle and you get to drift around like perfect precision.
Yeah, they're super fun. I used to so my job for working for Razor was literally create viral videos for these things for social media. So I'd just be in the back driving around crazy carts all day long, drinking coffee, like, all right, what can I do now?
Living the dream. I love it.
No, it was a good time. Crazy carts. I got to get one. Like, I have one here, but the batteries, like, got screwed up when we put them in the truck to travel around for the last show. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, those things, if you, like, we used to have, like, 6 of them at my old house in California. We, like, destroyed the garage. Like, the garage had no like drywall left by the time we moved out.
Oh man.
We would get hammered, and we'd go in like circles around the garage, and we'd have like 8 people doing it at the same time. It's like, it was a good time.
Whatever happened to the 8?
That is a good question. I know probably a few of them stopped working.
Yeah.
I know one of them is still at my parents' house in LA. Yeah, I don't know. I think I gave one to one of my other roommates. I thought like I was going to work for Razor for a long time, so I was like, I'll just keep getting more. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of like just stopped working for Razor, so I was like, well, there goes my endless crazy carts.
Oh, that's so awesome though.
Yeah. Would you ever move back to LA though?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I grew up an hour north of LA. Like that's where I went to college.
Where at?
In Lancaster.
Okay.
Yeah. Went to college out there. LA is kind of where my heart's at, but I couldn't create what I wanted to or afford to, where I was. So I made the move, and all the people I want to be creating with are out here anyway. Yeah. But if the YouTube or the whatever platform starts taking off and David's Dream Factory becomes big enough, I'd love to create a second one in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be super ideal. I wonder, like, where would be the best place to do it?
I mean, ideally, like, if it got that big, I'd love to create it in Santa Monica. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, the weather's perfect. Like,
it'd have to be pretty big with how much that's going to cost.
Yeah.
And how much land you would need for that?
There's actually, I was dating a girl in LA for a while, and she owned a house in Santa Monica with, I think it was over a half acre. And that's what I have now. So, like, same dimensions would be doable out there.
Yeah.
And I know a couple people like rented, they had like a creation space out there that they were renting that was built in a old aircraft hangar in Santa Monica.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah. So it is possible, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, the more that like I look at what's happening in LA and like that kind of stuff, and like how much rent is and all the problems they have, I'm like, maybe I won't ever move back there.
That's the thing is like my house that I bought out here, it's a 5-bedroom house on a half acre. Yeah. My mortgage was cheaper than my 1-bedroom apartment in LA.
Yep, same here.
Didn't make sense, and like to buy a place out there that had enough land, I was looking at triple what my rent was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, LA is so prime to be out there because of the weather and all that good stuff, but like the rent just makes it tough. Like you're pretty much working to pay your rent or your mortgage or whatever, But yeah, hopefully like this is a good place to come, and then if it takes off, you can go back.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. Would you ever move anywhere else, like Colorado or anything like that?
I don't think I'd move anywhere else in the States. Like, it's LA or Vegas.
Yeah.
I'd love to move somewhere else, like New Zealand or like Japan, like Italy. Those are probably the 3 favorite countries I've been to.
Yeah.
Maybe later down the road, just move out there to retire or something. But
Yeah.
In the States, LA or Vegas, especially for performance.
For performance, yeah.
Because I mean, you got what, like 6 different states or 6 different cities that really cater to performers, and you can make a living.
Yeah.
It's like Vegas, LA, Kansas City, because Quixotic's out there, New York, Florida, like Orlando.
Yeah.
Maybe San Francisco, but most of the performers I know out there are like more lifestyle performers than like performers for a living.
Yeah, for sure. I've always like thought about dabbling in like one of those other places because like there'd be way less competition.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like who would I get to perform? Like everyone's out here.
Yeah.
Or in LA.
Well, and they'll fly you in anyway, or you drive out anyway and do the gigs.
Yeah, that's true.
Because nobody has the space in most of those cities to store a trampoline wall.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. So if you were like if you would recommend to like beginning performers or someone who just got into performing, what would you recommend as like a good side hustle or something if you don't have like a full-time job at it yet?
I'd recommend whatever works for you, really.
Yeah.
Like whatever's in your area that's flexible and gives you enough money to survive. For my first few years of performing and whatnot, I was doing a lot of extra work and background work on movies.
Yeah, that's probably a good one.
Yeah, because I mean, it's super flexible. You get to meet contacts on set. You have time for like personal development. I listened and read to a lot of books during that time, and I'd be juggling, or I'd bring my sear wheel on set sometimes. Ended up leading to a couple upgrades and like minor stunt contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like in LA that's a great one, but I mean DoorDash, kind of all the stuff that you cover on your channel would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because like if you just don't want to work, you just don't work, and like it gives you the freedom to like be able to do stuff whenever you want. Like if we're going to cliff jumping tomorrow, I'm like, all right, well, I'm just not gonna work.
Yeah. And then like if an audition comes up, like you're not held accountable where you have to call into your serving job. Like I feel like serving jobs are one of the worst ones for performers, just because they miss out on a lot of opportunities. Like there's so many things that are last minute.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago, I worked on Wonder Woman 2, and I got the call to send in my stuff at like 6 p.m. And then by 11 p.m., I had a flight and a freaking limo on its way for the next day.
Dude.
To go work for 2.5 months in Washington, D.C. Like,
that's dope.
Those type of opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't, like, if you have a 9 to 5 or something, that's going to make it really confusing.
Yeah, unless you have, like, some other thing to lean into, like computer programming, website design that you can do remotely. Just something that's flexible.
Yeah, I feel like being a performer, you want that, like, extra job that's either you can do on your computer or, like, using your car, drive around. You got to have that because when you just, like, I went through the cycle of perform summer shows, come back at like a restaurant jobs, perform summer shows, come and work for Razor. It just like gets confusing when you got to tell your employer every year, which is why I stopped working for Razor. It's like, hey, I'm going to go do these summer shows. Sorry. Yeah, but when you have like a job like that or something you can make money off, it's just like, oh, I can double my money at that time too.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things too, like you don't want to be out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And having that flexibility lets you like stay focused and stay on the hustle with people who are booking gigs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because even sometimes when I would go to an international contract and come back, I'd be like, hey guys, remember me?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we kind of got your replacement for the next like month and a half, 2 months.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like meeting people is so important. And when like there's opportunities to go meet people or someone's having a party or something like that, I say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this is where I'm going to meet people. I have to go. Like if you miss those opportunities, it could have been like a whole contract that you missed out on or even bigger.
100%. Are you a Tim Ferriss person or do you listen to
I listen to him a little bit.
Have you listened to the episode with Derek Sivers?
Ooh, I don't think so.
If you haven't, check it out, because that's a good one with guiding principles for people who are beginning, and then like has a lot of good principles for people later in their career, because he says just say yes to everything. And he's got an interesting story of like how he went from like Berklee College of Music to joining the circus, and it was because he said yes to some like whatever gigs, like playing guitar at a rodeo. And it led to circus contracts, which led to an international tour, and it just stacks.
Just say yes to everything. Figure it out later.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how I started Off Axis. So someone hit me up on my YouTube channel like, hey, I work for Nickelodeon. We're looking to do some trample. Do you know do you know anyone with a trample act? I'm like, as a matter of fact, I do. And then in my head, I'm like, fuck, I got to figure this out. Where am I going to get trampolines from? Thank God I know this guy that works for Torque Method that has trampolines that I can rent.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's how it is. You're just jumping out of a freaking moving airplane with all the parts for a parachute, and you figure it out on the way down.
Yep.
That's the entrepreneurial spirit. I think every major step, I've said yes to something I was unprepared for.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to me where I am today. You just figure it out, or say you do fail, you hire the right person and eat the difference and move on. Lesson learned.
Yeah, someone asked me recently, like, oh, do you have a teeter board show? I'm like, yep. How do you make a teeter board?
YouTube, how to make a teeter board.
Yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't any tutorials on that, which...
Oh, we lucked out on the building. We were like, how to build a building.
Yeah.
Quite a few times when we were confused.
Yeah, I bet. That's got to be a confusing one. It's like building a gigantic house. As far as like performers sending you reels and stuff, what would you advise someone? Because sometimes when I get reels, I'm like, it's like 5 minutes long. It's like almost the same skill over and over and over. And I'm like, what's the variety here? Like, make it a minute or so.
Yeah, 100%. Like 2 minutes tops. But even then, with people's attention spans, like, say you do want to show off 2 minutes, put all of your best stuff in the first 15 seconds, because that's probably all you're going to get. I usually make my decision in that amount of time, and I've got more patience than most producers.
Yeah.
Hit it quick, hit it hard. No fancy artsy intro, just boom, go for it, and make sure to have as much performance footage or professional looking footage as possible.
Yeah, performance is good.
Because having rehearsal footage is like, okay, cool. Maybe they hit that trick 1 out of 10 times and they got it on film.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, they hit that on stage.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty consistent.
Yeah. Or if there's like mat footage where you're throwing a mat.
Yeah.
If it's not like the first time anyone's ever done in the world, don't put mat footage in there.
Yeah.
Even I'm not gonna throw a mat in the show.
Yeah. That would be it. Definitely like long intros. I'm less likely to hire people.
Oh man. Yeah, recently someone actually sent me footage for a summer show that we were doing. Their reel just took too long to get started. I think it was like 30 seconds before anything really happened. And then there was like mat footage and all the stuff. And I was like, I can't really hire this person.
Yeah.
And then I met them recently and I was like, if I would have known you were this good, like if you would have just had a good reel, I would have hired you for sure.
Totally. Another thing is musicality.
Yeah.
If you don't have musicality in a demo reel, I'm going to assume you don't have musicality on stage.
Yeah.
Because some people, like, there's like a build coming and you're like, cool, I'm going to see their best trick right here.
Yep.
And they just totally miss the opportunity. I'm like, okay, well, they're definitely not going to be able to hit anything to music on stage.
Yeah. Editing and stuff for people who've never done it before is like really hard.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Just make it short though.
Yeah. 30 seconds a minute is really all you need, because you can tell.
Yeah. You know what's even better is if you have solo footage from a show or something, like if you have like one of your solos from a trample act that you did or something, put that in there. I don't want to see like cuts and stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
And also don't send full acts is one thing that, it's a good rule of thumb to have them if people ask, but most of the time you'll get looked over if you send a full act.
Yeah.
Because nobody's got time for that nowadays.
Yeah.
Or the attention span.
Yeah. Or footage with a bunch of other people and like, who are we looking at?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. If they're good enough at editing, like a little thing of like me, whatever there, maybe put one of those in if you're like on the Grammys or like some sort of big TV show.
Yeah.
To show that you've done big things, but for the most part.
Yeah. Sweet, man. That wraps it up for all the questions I have for you. We're at about 50 minutes or so.
Perfect.
What are your social media channels and how can everyone find you?
Facebook Instagram and YouTube, David's Dream Factory, and David Matz on Facebook.
Sweet. Yeah, really looking forward to the stuff that you do with the Dream Factory.
Yeah.
That place is sweet.
Looking forward to collaborating with you and doing some shoots out here. I'd love to
definitely
get my FPV drone and shoot some off-axis footage.
Let's do it. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. This is David Matz. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.